What's a weird scary childhood memory you didn't realize the seriousness of until you were an adult? When I was like 4 or 5, my mom, brother and I went along with my dad on a business trip to Seattle. I have a distinct memory of being in like a Taco Bell or McDonald's. I can't remember which, but I remember waiting in line, getting in the front, then my mom just taking us and leaving. I remember being so disappointed and my brother and I whining and complaining until we got to the next place. Well, a couple years ago, I'm 28 now, it somehow came up in conversation and my mom told us the whole story. We got to the front of the line and the cashier said, "Those men over there are robbing us. They have guns. Take your children and leave now." So my mom did exactly that and never told us what happened. Best cashier ever. My brother and I were in the garage. I was very young, maybe 3 or 4. He was 2 years older than me. He was practicing swinging this bat around. I walked behind him because kids are way fucking stupid, and naturally he hit me with the bat on the back swing. Blood was coming out of my nose, and I was just starting to wail. I could see my brother through the tears, the look of panic on his face. At this point though, it was still just a terrible accident, and it should have been chalked up to that. But that's not the scary part. The scary part is that my brother, now facing me, clutching the bat with both hands, still a look of panic on his face as he was trying to get me to stop screaming. He realized there was no consoling me, so he took the bat with both hands and he hit me across the face with it again, before he ran out of the garage without looking back. Years later, my brother was facing an assault with a deadly weapon charge that he was swearing up and down to all of us that he was not guilty of. It was all a terrible mistake. That memory came back to me. That moment when we were kids, when he had that bat in the garage, when he accidentally hit me across the face the first time, but that second time, that was no accident. He was trying to silence me, for good. All I was to him, in that moment, was a problem. He'd rather me be dead and silent and alive than tattling on him. I didn't testify against him, but I wouldn't be a character witness for him either. He's out of prison now. We don't talk much. For a while, in about 2nd grade, we had a bus driver who drove really strangely. He often took different routes, and once he tried to get the bus down a really narrow lane and it got stuck between a building and a tree, and we all had to get out and push. But the kicker was that one day he forgot to drop off me and my friends. He just completely missed out neighborhood, the last area on his route, and went on to pick up kids at the high school. My 2 friends and I were too scared to speak up. We were sitting in the back seats until a high schooler yelled, "Hey, there's a bunch of little kids back here." The driver cussed a blue streak, peeled out of the HS parking lot, probably without half his next load of kids, and drove us home. All our moms were hysterical, since we were like an hour late, and this was long before cell phones. Told my mom all about the adventures we had with this guy driving, and the next day we had a new driver. Of course, he had been driving around for weeks, drunk, with a school bus full of kids. We had a school that was next to some woods, and I used to go there with my sister to play during the summer. We were probably 7 and 9. This guy with a leash asked us to help him look for his dog. At first we were both calling for it, and then he started walking into the woods saying he thought he went in there. My stupid ass at 7 just followed him, but my sister stopped and said, "No, poster. It's time to go." Grabbed my hand and we ran home. I was angry as a child that we never found the dog. As an adult, I realized that my sister saved my ass from some serious shit that was about to go down. We never did tell our parents because we were afraid of getting in trouble. We were stupid kids. LOL. I remember waking up on our couch and being very bothered that I had been taken from my nice warm bed but too sleepy to say anything. My mom and dad were in the next room screaming at each other, and then mom came to me crying and telling me not to fall asleep. I passed out, woke up laid across the back seat of my papa's truck in the dark with my mom crying in the front seat and my aunt holding me crying. Papa just stared straight ahead like he was mad. Woke up again in a bright room, being jostled around and pinched. Next time I woke up I was back in bed and thought it was a dream. 20 years later I am informed that, age 3, my fever spiked and both mom and dad unknowingly gave me medicine. Those meds reacted to each other and I had a seizure, but dad had to go to work and couldn't be bothered. So my aunt and papa took me to the hospital. Ambulance takes longer. In the truck I was turning blue. The bright room was the air, and the pinches were multiple IVs and tubes and such being placed. I was there, out like a light, for 3 days. Want to be featured in my videos? Become a patron at the Patreon link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe for new videos every day. My friend and I were riding our bikes down a rural country road. A beat-up panel van kept trailing behind us slowly, even though we pulled over multiple times to let it pass. Every time we did, it slowed to a stop behind us. Eventually we came to a T, so we pulled over again on the road, turning right so the van could get by. Instead, it gunned the accelerator and pulled up next to us and the door flew open. Thankfully a car arrived at the T we just pulled off on. The door on the van slammed shut and it screeched off. Couple months later my parents were watching the news and a picture of the van came on screen. I said, "Hey, friend," and I saw that once and my parents quietly freaked. Apparently it belonged to a dude that had been charged with child pornography and molestation. TLDR. Was almost kidnapped on a backwoods country road with my best friend. I saw pretty shiny things and wrenched myself away from my mom to run over, get onto my hands and knees and look real close at one. They were the reflectors marking the lanes in a busy street and the cars were flying by so fast. I caused a bit of a traffic jam that day. I was 4. Now that I'm older, I understand why everybody got so upset and panicked. One time, when I was about 10, I was practicing holding my breath in the pool while my uncle, who was living with us at the time, watched me. He held me under the water way too long, to the point where my lungs were burning. I honestly thought at the time that he was just helping me build my endurance, but I later found that my mother and all their siblings were horrendously abused by the father and my uncle had developed severe anger issues. So I guess he was taking some of that out on me. Haven't seen him in years. I got my sandal stuck in this gigantic escalator and was just kind like, this is annoying, until someone saw me trying to pull out when we were almost at the top. Might have lost my foot. When I was like 6, my shoelace got stuck in the side of the escalator at the local mall. Our family was there with another family with kids our age. Friend's mother noticed that it got stuck and freaked, dragging me off the escalator at the bottom. And the end of the shoelace got tugged out of the machinery, looking all ripped and ragged. 6-year-old me was pissed that she ruined my shoelace and I complaining about it in the car on the way home when my parents explained that people lose feet that way. Never forgot. Fast forward to a few years ago, I'm back at the same mall on the same escalator, when a kid at the bottom had a crack get sucked into the escalator. The whole thing jolted to a stop and everyone pitched forward, holding onto railings for dear life. Kid got their foot out in time, but I'm convinced that escalator has murderous intentions. When I was in grade school I walked from my house to school every day about a mile. On my walk was a homeless dude that I would always stop to give my vegetables so my mom would think I ate them. One day a friend from my class pulled over with her mother. Her mother offered to drive me to the school with my friend. I told her no, I had to give that dude my veggies or my mom would get mad if I didn't eat them. Also I know now I could have just tossed them, but I'm a dumb kid. So her mother gets really pushy and is insisting I get in the car, but I just continue on my way. That was the last time I saw that friend. I was little and we weren't super crazy close or anything, so I didn't think anything of it. Later in life I thought about her and asked my mom if she remembered the girl. Turns out her estranged drug addict mom kidnapped her and no one was able to find either of them. We lived close to the Mexico border, so they think she left the US. My mom freaked out when I told her the story and was also kinda mad I used to give my veggies to a homeless dude. Before taking me and my little brother to school, my dad would open up his shop for the day. The shop was at the ground floor of our apartment building, and while my dad was in the back setting everything up, me and my brother would be sitting in the front. My brother was about 3 or 4 at the time, so most days he'd be crying the whole time because he didn't want to go to school. Well, one day a stranger was walking past the store, saw my brother crying and just walked in and picked him up. Back then as a child I knew it wasn't good for a stranger to be picking up my brother, and I should have shouted for my dad, but kid me wanted to believe in the kindness of people and I didn't do anything. Dad eventually saw the guy and ran to the front shouting at him to let go of my brother. The guy ran out of the store. Only realized several years later how fucked up that was and my brother could have been kidnapped. Thank you for watching. Smash that like button like it's a thick booty. And don't forget to subscribe to OKPJ Dark if you like nice things, like new videos every day. See you tomorrow.